Are you living up to your fullest potential? It's a big question, I know. To be fair, what does that even mean? To me, it comes down to two main things. Do you feel that you're doing what you're meant to do every day? And do you feel like you're using your capabilities and being challenged in your work and in your life? And I'm not asking this from a place of judgment, but really just for you to be honest with yourself. So if you answer no to either of those questions, it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It's just that I found in my many years of helping people that people who live in alignment with their highest self, or people who are at least working towards living up to their fullest potential, even if they aren't completely successful all the time, tend to be happier. And that makes sense, since what would be the opposite? Well, the opposite of what I just described would mean that you're doing what you aren't meant to do each day, and that you're not using your skills and your capabilities, and you're living an unchallenged, unenthusiastic life. So, seems pretty unideal to me. And if that's been you, maybe it's time for a change. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, behaviors, and routines is hard. We make it easy. My name is Paul Levitin. I am a board-licensed behavior change coach, and I've been working in the field of behavior change, helping people change their habits, behaviors, and routines for over 10 years. If you've been struggling creating lasting life change, if you've ever caught yourself saying, I feel like I'm doing everything, but I'm just not getting it, then you've come to the right place. Where you're at in life is a direct result of your behaviors, habits, and routines. And that means to change your life, you have to change one or sometimes all of those three things. Change the root, change the fruit. So no matter what you're looking to accomplish, no matter what area of your life you're looking for success in, it all starts with one word: change. And that's why today I'm so excited for you to hear my conversation with Brian Johnson. Brian is the founder and CEO of the Heroic Public Benefit Corporation and the author of the new book, Arete, Activate Your Heroic Potential. Brian is the real deal. He has achieved success at the highest levels in pretty much every arena. He's a businessman, a great father, a family man, an entrepreneur. He has built not one but two market-leading social media platforms. He has a tremendous YouTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers, as well as a #1 ranked podcast. And he's raised tens of millions of dollars for his nonprofit, of which the goal is to create a world in which 51% of humanity is flourishing by the year 2051. And for all of his business things, Brian is equally a philosopher. He's studied the great writers, the thinkers, the philosophers, and the religions, and he has distilled over 650 books into 20-minute clips in the Philosopher's Note section of the Heroic app. In this conversation, we dig deep into the importance and power of words, and why Brian is so passionate about certain words that he has curated his entire brand around them, and even gotten several words tattooed on his skin. Brian explains how to cultivate your self-confidence, as well as the 3 disciplines you need for self-mastery. And be sure to listen in for Brian's definition of the word hero, which I think might surprise you. And stick around to the end if you want a free copy of Brian's new book, Arete. All right, with that, please enjoy this conversation with Brian Johnson. One of the things I noticed reading through your book and following you on your app and other places is you're very interested in words and etymology. Where did that come from, and what do you see as being so important about digging into the science of words?
That's a great question. No one has ever asked me that question. And right as you were framing that up, I'm like, you know what? You're right. When I was a kid, I literally loved the dictionary. I just loved to read the dictionary. It was like a fun thing for me. Words have always kind of grabbed me in a certain way. And then for whatever reason, I've gotten in the habit of, it's not just, the definition of a word, but the etymology of a word. And I try to understand, all right, well, when this word was created, what were they thinking? What were they trying to communicate through this word? And then the more I did it, the more I enjoyed doing that. And now there's kind of it's not a huge, but a nice small constellation of words that have really formed kind of the backbone of my work. From Arete, as you know, to eudaimonia, to anti-fragility and confidence, fundamental, all these things, have just become kind of like part of how I think and how I try to teach. And I appreciate you highlighting that.
Yeah. And again, it's very clear from just kind of watching how you write and the things you talk about, your tattoos we kind of spoke about before we started recording. And I'm very keen on words as well, because as a coach, I always want to reflect back that the words that we choose to use are very important. When people say, I couldn't, it's like, well, is that true? Or did you choose not to? When people say that, a big one is I do X, Y, Z for stress relief. People tell me I eat for stress relief or I scroll for stress relief. And I'm like, well, it doesn't actually relieve your stress. It distracts you, so there's a lot of, I'm very keen on that. And I would love if you could give me a few of the words that you love and the impact behind them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the t-shirt we're both wearing right now. Not the first tattoo I got, but the most recent first tattoo in the collection of tattoos is Arete. So that is, as you know, the name of the book that we just released. It's the one-word summation of my life's philosophy. It's the one-word answer the ancient Stoics would have given you if you asked them how to live a good life. And it's one of those words that the other thing I like to think of is, why did that word fall out of our cultural vernacular? It was the dominant theme of the ancient Greco and Roman philosophies. Like, how is it possible that word just disappeared, So Arete is one. When you live with Arete, which directly translates as virtue and excellence, as you know, and as I imagine we'll discuss, you experience the summum bonum, the greatest good of life, eudaimonia, which means good soul. Eu is good in ancient Greek, and daimon is soul. We all have a guiding spirit. To the extent you live in integrity with that guiding spirit, you experience a deep sense of meaning, joy, purpose. Eudaimonia. Daimon, guiding spirit, soul, the diminutive of that is demon. So we also all have this less than awesome version of ourselves. Who's winning the war between your daimon, your demon, between virtue and vice? So those are my two favorite. And then heroic, I got on my other arm. So the word hero in ancient Greece didn't mean tough guy or killer of bad guy. They used a word that meant protector when they came up with the word that we now think of with hero. So a hero is a protector. A hero has strength for two. The protector's secret weapon is love. So that's the public benefit corporation that we have, heroic, that I've dedicated my life to. And my belief we can talk more about. We're all the heroes we've been waiting for. Anti-Fragility, confidence. I mean, we can go on and on, but those are my tattoos. Those are the newest ones. For New Year's, I gave myself anti-fragile and confidence, because that's the thing I'm talking about more and more and more to like super elite special forces commanders. And that's what I'm talking about, elite sports teams and athletes.
Yeah, I love that. And I would actually love for you to dig a little bit deeper into both of those. Confidence is a big thing for me. People always ask me about confidence, happiness. These are words that everyone knows, everyone aspires to theoretically, and yet we all define them a little bit differently. So could you explain a little bit why confidence and anti-fragility, both separately and together, you like those words so much?
Yeah, for sure. Again, goosebumps as you say that, and just that being a coach of cultivating confidence. So the way that I frame it up, again, same idea. All right. So what is confidence? Etymologically, confidence is from two Latin words that one of my superpowers is mispronouncing words. So confidere is almost certainly not how you say it. Confidere, right? Intense trust, right? That's what confidence means, to have intense trust. All right. Well, in what? And we can talk about intense trust in any relationship, the way that I like to frame it up. You and I had a scheduled time to get together. If I didn't show up, you may give me one pass, but if I didn't show up again, you wouldn't trust me, and you shouldn't trust me. So if you want to build trust in any relationship, you have to do what you say you will do. And that is especially important in cultivating a relationship with yourself, which is usually where we tend to have the lowest standards. You're going to show up for a friend if you say you're going to be there. Or not. Maybe no one's perfect, but you're more likely to do that than yourself. So you say you're going to eat a certain way, you're going to move a certain way, you're going to sleep, a certain amount of hours a night, you're going to show up with your family in a certain way, whether it's your spouse or your kids or whatever. And if you don't do those things, every time you don't honor the commitments you made to yourself, you're eroding trust. You do that long enough and you don't trust yourself. And frankly, you shouldn't trust yourself. So you shouldn't have, quote, confidence in the true etymological sense of it. Now, stated positively, when you get clear on the things that you're committed to and you quit saying you're going to do things unless you actually intend to do them, whether it's, hey, I'll connect you and this friend and that friend, well, do it. Don't say you're going to do it unless you do it. And then when you say you're going to do something in your own life, do it. And again, none of us needs to be perfect, but we do need to be aware of the fact that we're eroding trust every single time we don't do that. Then get better, have the common humanity, the self-compassion to realize that, I've fallen short multiple times today. It's early, dude. We're talking at 11:41 a.m. Central Time. I have already fallen short of my own standards so many times. It is what it is. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. That's perfect. And let's do the work to forge more of that confidence. I'll pause there and then I'll bring in anti-fragility, but that's how I frame up confidence. And it's exciting because you can run that through on a positive sense and build an enormous amount of trust in yourself to handle whatever life throws at you, starting by embracing the fact you're not perfect, but then trying to get a little bit better. And you aggregate and compound those gains over a long enough period of time, and I have goosebumps again, and you become invincible. Like that's how I approach it. And again, we'll connect it to anti-fragility. This is the heart of my work. And again, what I'm finding to be what's most resonant and perhaps just distinct about how I'm integrating ancient wisdom and modern science with some practical tools.
I mean, it's a masterclass right there. This is, the last little 3-minute rant, however long that was so spot on. This is why I started to teach and coach confidence, because to me, it's at the root of everything. When I was a personal trainer, when I was a nutrition coach, when I did health and wellness coaching, when I did business coaching, it's like, what is the point of all that? What are you trying to get out of when you have the body, when you have the money, when you have the career, whatever it is? It's like, oh, well, I just want to be a little bit happier and a little bit more confident. It's like, okay, so like, let's go to that. Let's just cut right to the stuff. And it's the last point you made there to me that's the most important, is that confidence is freeing. When you have true confidence in yourself, a deep belief in yourself, you can do anything because you're not afraid to try, because you have the belief inside you that everything will be okay. When I quit my job and packed up my car to drive across the country, people were like, oh, that's so cool. Like, what are you going to do? I don't know, but I know that I'm going to be okay. And because of that, I don't have to be afraid of anything. And because of that, I can try. And the more you try, the better chance you have at achieving success. So I really love how you paired that up. And I would love if you could now bring in anti-fragility.
I love it, dude, and appreciate you. So anti-fragility, I got the word from Nassim Taleb, the great intellectual, and he makes a distinction between being fragile, being resilient, and being anti-fragile. And there's a big difference between those three things. So if you're fragile, it's like you're a package being shipped in the mail, and you say, handle me with care. When life gets hard, I break, right? And then if you're resilient, you're a little bit stronger. You can handle a little bit more, but then you eventually break down, and then you can be put back together faster than someone who's fragile. But there's something considerably better than being just resilient, which is anti-fragility. What's the opposite of being fragile? What if you wrote on that same box, throw me around? Seriously, somehow magically, when you throw this box around, me, life, I get stronger. It's like going to the gym and you're lifting real weights, and you're actually getting stronger. That's anti-fragility. And the way that, and this again, this is the thing that, I recently talked to the U.S. men's national soccer team when they were in Austin, recently talked to some special forces operations commanders. This is what they want me to talk about. Anti-fragile confidence. Nassim Taleb says that to use life's obstacles to get stronger is the essence of it. And we can talk practically about how to do that. But Nassim Taleb has a great metaphor. He says the wind, AKA life's challenges, the wind will extinguish a candle, but the same exact wind will fuel a fire. So the question is twofold: which are you, and how do you become the fire that can use life's challenges to get stronger? Which we can drill into, which I'd love to drill into, but I'll pause there. That's now we framed up. Well, and I'll go one step further, then I'll throw it back at you. The way you forge anti-fragility is you connect it to confidence. You start doing the things you know you need to do, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when life hits you hard. Then when life hits you hard, instead of going off the rails, inviting the circus into town and doing all the things you know you shouldn't be doing, you double down on your protocol and the things you do when you're at your best, especially when you're at your worst. When you do that, everything changes. And you just need to get 3, 5, 7, 10% better at it. And you realize, wow, I had way more power than I thought. And then the very thing that used to break you makes you next level. It's as close to invincible as I think we could ever become. And we can drill into it. It's simple, not easy, but it is simple to figure out how we can start making that a practical reality.
I am so pumped to tell you about my partnership with My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the world's leading nutrition coaching platform that helps people find their healthy weight and keep it forever through sustainable habit change. If you listen to this show, you know that we do not suffer from a lack of information. Most people know what they need to change. The problem is actually sticking to it long enough to see results. When it comes to diet, exercise, and getting in shape, My Body Tutor solves this problem by giving you customized plans, one-on-one coaching, and daily accountability. As a bonus for you, they are offering $50 off your first month. What makes My Body Tutor so unique is they offer daily accountability with a real human coach. That's someone to check in with you, talk to, plan with, someone who can help you when things are going hard. It's not ChatGPT, it's not some algorithm. This is a real human. I know because I'm one of them. I have been working with My Body Tutor as one of their tutors since 2020. With so much nonsense and misinformation and just bad actors out in the health and wellness space, My Body Tutor is helping people the real way. They are changing lives. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Check out mybodytutor.com, where you can see hundreds of testimonials and reviews. And remember, listeners of this show get $50 off their first month. Just click the link in the show notes or go to mybodytutor.com and tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you in your intake questionnaire, and you'll automatically get a huge discount. On top of that, they offer a money-back, risk-free guarantee. So this is really a no-brainer. And like I said, I really do work for them. So if you've ever wanted to work with me personally, you can even request to have me as your body tutor. How cool would that be? Once again, just say Paul sent you and get $50 off your first month, start with no risk, and see how the power of a coach with daily accountability can literally change your life. Simple but not easy sums up everything in life. I say a lot on this show. Everyone says easier said than done whenever we talk about this stuff. Oh, well, yeah, easy for you to say easier said than done. It's like everything is easier said than done. It's easier to talk than it is to act. So inherently, everything we do is easier said than done. I love that analogy, the candle versus the campfire. And you mentioned, though, U.S. men's national soccer team, reading through your book, you have a lot of high achieving friends. That's what you do, is help people become better and reach the highest levels of achievement. So I'm curious if you could break down the 3 disciplines of self-mastery that you work with these high achievers on.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that I've been blessed to somehow be able to reach people who are at the asymptotic level of performance and help the best become better. I feel blessed to do that. It's an incredible, fun thing to be able to do. And again, it's simple stuff that they know, but it's like, oh yeah, let's get clarity on that, and then boom, we can go next level. But at the same time, the same exact message has helped people save their lives, and people who did not want to get out of bed and live another day somehow found something in what we're talking about right now to go, wait, okay, I got a little more agency. I got a little bit more of that self-efficacy that can become self-confidence, that can become the scaffolding on which I build a life of meaning. And again, I know what it feels like to want to end my own life. My dad struggled with alcohol. His dad did the same and ended his own life. So I know what it feels like to be on that end of the spectrum in terms of depth of despair, and what I did to build some scaffolding, and then what I did to go all the way up to me striving to be my best self and help others doing that. But I want to emphasize that that's frankly what I'm most proud of, is being able to meet people wherever they're at and to help them go to the next level. And we're all at different levels in different aspects of our lives, because the elite, this performer who can do that may be struggling in the relationship side of things or whatever. So there's some beauty to that. But then the 3 disciplines, to bring it back to the 3 disciplines, this is, and a lot of what I just said is grounded in Phil Stutz's wisdom. So Phil Stutz is my beloved spiritual father. I mean, he's my coach for the last 7+ years, but he's really become my spiritual father. Phil wrote a book called The Tools. He's featured in the Netflix documentary called Stutz with Jonah Hill, another one of his clients. I've worked with him almost 450 one-on-one coaching sessions. The deepest in impact anyone has had on my life is Phil. Anyway, he's the one who came up with the 3 disciplines. So the 3 disciplines are these. First, you need to have structural discipline. Structural discipline is the things that you do to have a good day. So I eat a certain way, I go to sleep at a certain time, I get a certain amount of sleep, I move my body in a certain way. Structural discipline. You have structure to your life and you pay attention to that. That's a discipline, to structure your life in a powerful way. And then the next discipline is called reactive discipline. So when life hits you, how do you react? That's a discipline. To step in between a stimulus and your old response and choose a better response, as Viktor Frankl says, in the gap between stimulus and response is your freedom to choose a better response. That's a discipline. When my kids upset me, and this is part of where I fell short today, which is a common theme, you go get married, then go have a couple of kids and increase your weight on the bar of life's philosophical gym, practicing these ideas. But to react well to life's challenges or whatever is a discipline. That's reactive discipline. Structural, reactive disciplines. Then the third is expansive discipline. This is basically the virtue of courage. So courage, scientifically, is the willingness to act in the presence of fear. So that's a discipline. So when you feel fear, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel all the things that you feel when you leave your comfort zone, which by definition is uncomfortable. I exit my comfort zone. I literally, by definition, feel uncomfortable. Now, I will feel a bit of anxiety personally, or overwhelm or stress. We all feel different things. The question is, what do you do when you feel that discomfort, right? Do you lower your standards and kind of pull back or numb yourself? Or do you realize, wow, that's where I grow. Outside of my comfort zone is where my infinite potential exists. Phil says that's a discipline, to expand. And the way you do that is you say, bring it on. When you are feeling that discomfort and pain and your palms are starting to sweat, imagine a talk you're going to give, to use an example for me, I'm giving a talk to like 1,000 people. Perfect. I should feel that, but instead of being like, oh no, imagine the worst case, I'm saying, bring it on. I'm going to get better. I'm ready. And I'm going to get better on the other side of this. Structural, reactive, expansive discipline. Those are the 3 disciplines that, are part of my work and part of the book and all that good stuff.
One, I appreciate you sharing in the beginning there about your own struggles. One being just real about struggling with your kids and life and stuff like that. Also your familial struggles in the past. I always want to actually dig into that stuff because that's the whole point of this show. The whole point of this podcast is to take the people who are quote unquote successful, whatever that means to different people. Success is something different to everyone. And one, to show everyone that we are all human. This is all just human stuff. This is why the Stoics, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Jews, the whatever you want to, every group throughout history has come to the same basic conclusions. This is nothing new. This is nothing revolutionary. And yet it's the hardest stuff to wrap our minds around. And that is the paradox of the human condition. So I appreciate you sharing your own struggles. And my goal is to always, as you said, take the success secrets from the top 1% and distill it down so that anyone listening right now can take that and be better, be happier, be healthier, be more successful, be more confident, whatever it is that they're striving to do. Because I believe that success, again, in any way, however you want to put it, is not a luxury, but a human right. I believe that happiness, health, these are the what we are born to achieve. We should have them for our entire life, because what is life without those things? So I just wanted to kind of emphasize to your point. And my question then, of those 3 success principles or disciplines that you just mentioned, where of the 3 have you seen in your experience, either personally or with clients and working with however hundreds and thousands many of people, do people struggle the most? Is it with the structure? Is it with the part 2, part 3?
It's a great question. I'll answer the question in a slightly different frame. The most important by far is structural. Because if you don't have structural discipline, you're weakening your chances of having powerful reactive and expansive discipline. because structural discipline, what I would call the fundamentals. So you want to create masterpiece days, which is a big objective in the book, then you want to master yourself and all these different things, and you want to dominate the fundamentals. But I want to know what structure you have in your life when you're performing at a really high level. And this is what I challenge all the elite performers and people who, aren't currently at their best, right? So let's think back to a time when you were at your best. And it could be a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade, but you have achieved a level of peak performance. By definition, we've all had peak performance moments, it may not have been at what we wanted to be, but it was better than baseline. So what was that? What were you doing at that point in time? We want to get clarity on that. We call that a protocol. That's your structural discipline. And when you get clarity on that and you get yourself more energized by doing the things you do when you're at your best. For me, it's eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, focusing my mind in certain ways, going to bed at a certain time, getting up at a certain time, interacting with my kids in a certain way, training my body in a certain obvious things. But when I have that structural discipline, I'm, as my wife would say about our kids, well-resourced to handle life's challenges. I can then, when I'm well-rested and well-resourced and well-fed and I just worked out, I'm in a much better position to do the things I described, to use life's challenges as fuel for my growth. And I'm willing to say, bring it on. Life, pain sets me free is another phrase from Phil. So having structural discipline in place allows for the other two to be more effortlessly embodied. And I think that's what people struggle the most with. People want everything quick. So we've been sold to play the wrong game in the first place, going after the fame and wealth and hotness and Instagram followers and square footage and all the other nonsense. And then we've been told it should be easy. So then when it isn't, even if you succeed in the other, you're not happy. And then when it isn't easy, you think something's wrong with you, you struggle. So the biggest challenge I have is to explain to people that the most basic fundamentals are the most important. It's the same challenge that John Wooden had with his Bruins and why they won so many championships was he taught them how to put on their socks and dominate the basic fundamentals. So getting people excited about consistency and the process of mastery is my biggest challenge, and the fact that you're never going to get exonerated. You're never going to get to a point where you don't need to put in the work. And in fact, the best among us get excited about doing the most basic things at the highest possible level. And then you have the freedom to play at the edges and to be fully expressed. But it's a function of those deep grounded fundamentals, which is an expression of and a component to the structural discipline that we're talking about.
Makes a lot of sense. As you said, it's the foundation and everything else is built on top of that. And what you said there that I really appreciate is that people need to get excited about mastery, get excited about doing the thing, taking the action. And everyone is, the new year, we're recording this, a big practice that a lot of people have is picking a word for the year to represent the energy of the year. I did an episode about this a couple episodes back. People listening can scroll back, but my word for 2024 is enthusiasm. And in your book, I came across a poem that I had never seen before that I really enjoyed. And it was the Ralph Waldo Emerson enthusiasm quote. So I was wondering if you could, if you know it by heart, you can say it, and it just kind of expand on like what you took away from that.
Yep. That's so good. So enthusiasm, briefly, etymologically, en theos, two little Greek words, God within. So when we have enthusiasm, it's as if we've connected to the divine within us. That daimon is, it's the expression of eudaimonia. You have that divine spirit coming through you. You have this enthusiasm. So it's funny because I do have it memorized, but I always recite it internally in my head. So I've got 4 quotes that I say anytime I get up at night, as I say in the book. I've got this series of quotes that I use as like counting sheep, only it's here's to the crazy ones, right? It's my first one. The rebels, the misfits, the troublemakers, the round pegs and the square holes, the ones who see things differently. And I go through that, right? But then the second one is Ralph Waldo Emerson, after whom we named my son Emerson, who says enthusiasm is one of the most powerful engines of success. When you do a thing, do it with all your might. Put your whole soul into it, stamp it with your own personality. Be active, be energetic, be enthusiastic and faithful, and you will accomplish your objective. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. And I've said that to myself, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 times, dude. Goosebumps, like just, and I've broken it down, I'm like, what does that mean to be energetic, to be active, to be energetic, to be enthusiastic and faithful? Like, what was he thinking when he wrote those words, and how can I do that? But that's so cool, dude, that you made that your word, that you that deep in the book, that you saw me talking about it, and appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, well, because the way I came across this myself, again, when I read it, I was like, damn it, someone took my idea 100 years ago. And isn't that always the way? But I'm always trying to make things easier. That's a big concept in my coaching as well. I have a whole course that I do on making your habits easier, because I feel that people always try to take the hard way. It's like, just do more, just grind it out. And that's the opposite of enthusiasm. You're trying to force yourself to do something that your brain and body are fighting back against. And it's very hard to do that, especially to do it consistently, to get long enough to get the actual result. So when I flip that, I'm like, okay, then everything that I do, everything that I build my life on should be things that I'm enthusiastic about. It should be things that I want to do. And if I want to do it, I'll do it more. And if I do it more, I'll get better at it. And then that flywheel just keeps going and going and going, and it pumps out more success. But the pushback that I get to that, obviously, when I bring this up, is when people go, well, obviously, if I could just do everything that I loved, then life would be sunshine and rainbows. But what about when I have to do stuff that I'm just not enthusiastic about? Like, how, if nothing great has ever been built without enthusiasm, what do I do when I'm not enthusiastic right now?
Be enthusiastic about it. So Seneca said the wise person does nothing. Well, actually, the Buddha said it this way: the wise person does nothing reluctantly. If you're going to do it, do it. Be all in, So for me, another example, like my wife does everything for our kids, basically. She's just an extraordinary mom. I mean, just heroic. No one will ever know what she does. Gets me emotional. I'm here talking to you, and I get to be the dude that people look at and can say, oh, thank you, and all this. She's behind the scenes doing 10 times more than I do, that no one will ever know the stuff that she does. Now, she makes the food every morning, just extraordinary. And she's not quite as proficient in doing the dishes. So I can come in after she gave me the time to do my deep work in the morning, taking care of our kids and doing all the things she does. And I can, and I have, complain about the fact that the blender's not clean, and this isn't clean, and this isn't clean, right? And so I'm doing that without enthusiasm because I don't want to do it. Or I can say, my God, she does everything. Do your job, dude. Like this is your job to take care of the small little cleanup that we need to have here. And I can do that reluctantly, or I can do that enthusiastically. And I literally, in the Heroic app that we built, we help you architect your protocol to exercise the structural discipline by getting clarity on the things you need to do. So one of the targets in our app that I have in my protocol is do the dishes as an act of love. Fold the laundry. I do the laundry. Fold the laundry as an act of love. Oh my God, my 6-year-old's turning 7 in a month. Look at these little pants. I'm doing the laundry. Now I can do them begrudgingly, and oh, that's a pain. Same thing with the dishes. Now, I'm not the dude that stares at bubbles, like I'm doing the dishes, and it's like a meditative experience for me. I'm not that guy, and I'm not going to pretend I am that guy. Bless Thich Nhat Hanh for making doing the dishes a spiritual meditation. But I can do the dishes thinking about how they got dirty, and the people that my wife and my kids who are part. I can do the laundry with this enthusiasm for the opportunity that I have kids. I can clean up my kids' Legos thinking about, well, that's amazing. I've got 2 enthusiastic kids that play and things get thrown everywhere. So there's always a choice point. So if I have to do something, first of all, check in on that. And do you? And Carlos Castaneda has a great line. He says, you don't have to do anything. You can cut any and everything out of your life in an instant. I could choose to completely leave any and all responsibilities I have in my life right now. And I know that. Therefore, as a warrior, he would say, the word that he uses in his Toltec philosophy, don't ever complain. Ever. Don't ever give up your agency. Don't ever give up your opportunity to decide what you're going to do. So I'm blessed to have 2 kids and a wife. Now, my house is a lot different with 2 kids. My relationship is a lot different with 2 kids than none. But anyway, we choose to have agency. And then if you don't want to do it, and you can get out of doing it, then get out of doing it. Like delegate it or decide you're not going to do it. But again, that agency and that if you're going to do it with all your heart. put your whole soul into it. Literally stamp it with your own personality. You can do your dishes in a way that you're approaching it like an artist would approach something. That's a whole nother conversation we can have that many teachers come back to. Anyway, then all of life becomes a practice. George Leonard says this. How many moments like what I just described become opportunities for your mastery to notice that you've got this little voice that's whining yet again? Well, what are you going to do? That's reactive discipline, by the way. So boom, this voice comes up. How are you going to respond? Are you going to be able to choose a better response? You're going to let that dictate your experience in that moment. And again, I get it. This can come across as somewhat, I hope it doesn't, but it could come across as somewhat naive or Pollyannish and all that. But these are really practical tools. And in any given moment, we can turn that thing into something we want. And again, the more structural discipline we have, and the more connected we are to our best selves, the more we ask ourselves, well, what do I want? What's missing in my life that I feel like my entire life is one big chore? And how do I start building a life with deeper meaning and purpose? And obviously, you're getting me fired up again, but those are my now long thoughts on that short question.
No, it's great. And again, words are always sticking out to me. You said, do the dishes with love, do the laundry with love. You didn't say do it enthusiastically. You didn't say just do them because it's the nice thing to do for your wife. You said do them with love. And I want to know how you think about that word specifically.
Yeah. And then the specific phrase I use is do the dishes as an act of love. So for me, and do the laundry as an act of love. Literally, these are targets I've hit hundreds and hundreds of times. Now, again, I'm not pretending that I'm Mr. Levitating, an inch and a half off the ground doing this all the time. Like I'm reminding myself daily because that isn't my default orientation. But for me, so love is the word that we want to go into. Yeah. So let's go back to the word hero. So the word hero means protector. The hero has strength for two. The hero does the hard work to have the strength for two. So victim versus hero, just to juxtapose the two. The victim whines, complains, blames, gossips, and gives up their agency all the time. The hero comes on the other side of, you want to go from victim to creator to hero is how I frame it up. So go from victim to the creator of your life. You do that by asking a simple question. What do I want? Because when you're complaining, there's something missing in your life. So we need to stop complaining about all the things that are missing, slow down and say, what do I want? Right? So in any given moment, I don't want to be in an argument with my wife or my kids or unhealthy or carrying an extra 50 pounds, whatever. Perfect. Get clear on what you want, then go do it. But the hero does the hard work to forge the strength to act like that. But their secret weapon and what drives them is love. So that's why a special forces operator, literally, I got something from the Navy SEALs, Naval Special Warfare, from a couple of my friends that ran Naval Special Warfare, that SEALs get right when they show up to try to become a SEAL. It's their basically like code of ethics. It's insane, dude. Like the standards to which they hold themselves, it gets me emotional just thinking about it. Like the dedication that they have to their country, to their team, it's impossible to put into words. It's driven by love. These warriors so love their country and so love their team and their families and our families that they'll go out and they will sacrifice their lives. And then that is their absolute professional obligation to be willing to do that. That's an act of love, full stop. Now, a lot of us take that for granted. And again, politics aside, you can have whatever opinion you want about how military is used, but those who are serving us, who have chosen to put their lives on the line for us, that's an act of love. They are literally our protectors. But my wife does what she does. I do what I do as an act of love. So that's how I think about it. We can talk about what that means in a practical way. And I do talk about it, of course, in the book and our work, et cetera. But that's what I'm thinking about is get out of myself, and then make the connection. These little pants that I'm folding are worn by a little girl who's getting big really fast, and it becomes a moment to deepen that connection and bring enthusiasm to it. And you're going to feel more enthusiasm for life when you can make the mundane. And David Allen says this, the sublime is found through the mundane. So if I want to connect to the entheos within me, the God within, and live with enthusiasm, I got to figure out how to make moments like that sacred. And again, I'm not the go off the rails in the Buddhist monk or whatever. But that's exciting. Like then all those little things become opportunities to practice, get a little bit better, etc. And that's what I do when I'm in my more enlightened moments.
Man, it's a beautiful thing, and to feel that way even for a moment is powerful. And you've mentioned a few times, Brian, already your app, the Heroic app, which I'm a member of as well. It's great for anyone listening. The link is in the show notes to check that out. Definitely suggest it. And one of the things that you do in your app, which is amazing, is break down books, many of the best books in self-development and different spiritual practices, and you break them down into little tidbits, and you've read a lot. And so I would love if you could just give us, maybe, I know this is hard, impossible maybe, but your top 3 books that you think, I've never read a book before, but I want to start somewhere, this is where it's going to have the highest impact on my life.
Yeah, that's a great question. And then I'd want to follow it up with, all right, well, what are you interested in? You know what I mean? Like, is there a specific topic you're interested in? Because we can bifurcate it. We've got dozens of different categories in the app, but I'll answer your question generally. But, again, productivity, goal setting, stoicism, modern science, positive psychology, leadership, mental toughness. There's a ton of nutrition, movement, ton of categories. So interesting. So then I do have a list of top 3 favorite books that I organize kind of energy, work, and love, which are our 3 kind of big 3 we come back to in the book. We've trained 10,000 coaches with a coach certification program. We keep on coming back to 3: energy, work, and love. So at the highest level, my all-time favorite book is The Tools by my coach, as I mentioned, Phil Stutz. It's a beautiful integration of kind of cognitive behavioral therapy and general therapy with spirituality, with practical tools. I love it. The Tools, again, check out the Netflix documentary. If you resonate with Phil, I think you'll like that book. And then Work, Deep Work by Cal Newport, dear friend of mine, one of my favorite thinkers, fantastic book talking about the importance of creating the space to go deep. That's my secret weapon for productivity. I can give you a ton of other titles there, but that'd be one. And then the third, for love, is a book that most people probably haven't heard of, called Happy Together, on the science of virtuous relationships by James Puelski and Susie Puelski. James runs the positive psychology master's program with Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania. Again, dear friends, beautiful human beings, great book. So The Tools, Deep Work, and Happy Together. But then I got to say, The Daily Stoic is the best book on stoicism. Atomic Habits is the best book on behavioral change. We can go down a long list of other great books, but those arise as some of my favorites.
I appreciate that. And I like the love category that you threw in there, because that's definitely something that I am not well read on or well versed in, and I'm going to be adding to my list as well. And the list goes on and on. There's always going to be more books. There's always going to be more podcasts. So I always want to, offer people options, but realize that there's no one way to do this. And by this, I mean, again, live a fulfilled, full life. No one book is going to have all the answers. No one guru is going to have all the answers, regardless of what they might tell you. I know we have coming up on time, and we're going to start to wrap up.
Especially when they tell you they do. That's when you want to run the other way.
Yeah.
But then at the risk of self-promotion, what I did with the Heroic app and with something called Philosopher's Notes is I distilled 600, we're almost at 650 of the best books on self-development into basically 20-minute summaries. So I pull out the big ideas from the books you may not have had the time to read, and I give you more wisdom and less time with those practical ideas that in aggregate, I think, can change your life, and also introduce you to the titles you might like. So all those books I mentioned are in the app. You can kind of get a sense of a taste of how the author communicates, etc. But yeah, I love it. And time flies when you're having fun with friends. Let's go. What do we got next?
So yeah, again, I could do this for hours. So I want to be cognizant of your time. So we've talked a lot about theory. We've talked a lot about things that might hold people back, the things that we quote unquote need. But I always want to give people actionable, tangible advice. Like all of this stuff is nice, but what do I do with this? So the last question is the same question that I ask every guest on the show, which is if you had one action step that listeners could take right now, today, as soon as this episode ends, as soon as they take their headphones out to start living a happier, healthier life, what would it be?
Yeah, great question. I'll go back to our conversation on anti-fragile confidence. And I challenged us to get stronger when life hits us hard. Now, I didn't go all the way into what Phil Stutz said that inspired that phrase, anti-fragile confidence. He calls it emotional stamina, your ability to tolerate pain, uncertainty, and hard work, to have emotional stamina. I now call anti-fragile confidence. And so in an early session, he complimented me. He told me I had a lot of it, but I had no idea what he was talking about. So next session, I'm like, well, what's emotional stamina? And he said, it's your ability to handle pain, uncertainty, and hard work. And then follow-on question is, how do I get more of it? And what he told me is the core of everything I teach. And I'm going to come to the practical exercise in a moment. He said, the way you cultivate more emotional stamina, the way you get more anti-fragile confidence, in my words, is the worse you feel, the more committed you are to your protocol. Now, that presupposes you have a protocol. So the exercise for you is this. I want you to think back to a time in your life when you're at your absolute best. For a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade. Really feel it. Go back to that time in your life when you were crushing it in general and perhaps relative to where you are now. Then get out a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, and on the upper left put do, and on the upper right put don't. And think back to when you were at your best and write down what you did. And then write down what you didn't do. Then look at your current life and circle the one thing that you know you could be doing, that you did do when you're at your best, that you're not currently doing. And circle the one thing that you are currently doing that you didn't do when you're at your best, and circle that. And then that's what I call your number one start, your number one stop. The one thing that you could start doing right now that would most significantly change your life, and the one thing you could stop doing right now that would most significantly change your life. I have asked myself that question. What's the one thing I could stop doing? Probably thousands of times, certainly hundreds of times. It's what I do when I want to go next level. And it's what I do when I feel a little wobbly. Maybe when things are slipping a bit and I'm just really under pressure, etc. That would be my practical recommended exercise. And then I also want to emphasize the fastest way to change your life and to build self-confidence is to stop doing the things you know you shouldn't be doing. So if you're responding when life hits you and you're drinking or, binge drinking, binge watching, binge eating, we've all got fill in the blank what we do, binge scrolling. Yeah, your kryptonite is what you need to deal with. Superman can do as many push-ups as he wants to get even stronger, but if he's sitting in front of a block of kryptonite, he's powerless. So we got to take care of that. We've all got it, a different spectrum of kryptonites. But that's now a long answer again to your short question, but that's how I like to frame it up practically. And you want to make your prior best your new baseline. So when I finished my talk for the national team, head coach Greg Berhalter said that line, make your prior best your new baseline, which is a Josh Waitzkin phrase, was the thing that stuck out the most for him. Anyway, that's what I would encourage people to consider doing.
Yeah, it's an amazing exercise. And I'm sure it's one of those things that the more you do it, the more you get out of it. So I love things like that are, someone can actually do that right now today, and it's going to help them move forward today, but they can keep that with them, and it's going to help them the more they do it over and over down the road. Last thing, Brian, I have in the show notes already your app, your link to your book, your website. If people want to get more in touch with you or learn about what you're doing, you have so much going on. Where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, I appreciate it. The app and the book. So the book is Arete, obviously Arete. You can find that wherever you buy books. And then the app is Heroic. You can learn more about that at heroic.us, heroic.us. And you can learn more about the book, get samples and all that at heroic.us/book if you're not ready to get the book. And then you can find our app in the iOS and Android app stores. Just search Heroic. We're the training platform. And yeah, just great to connect, man. I appreciate what you're doing and how you're doing it. And super inspiring.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the app, again, for anyone listening, it really is the best I've seen of any of these type of apps. Like, it has meditation, it has productivity, it has the books, it has the knowledge, it has really everything. So definitely encourage people to check that out. And also the book, Arete, I recently finished myself, and I loved. And what I want to do is I'm going to buy 5 copies of that book and give it away to the first 5 people who leave a review for this podcast and mention Brian's name and say that you listened to this episode and got something out of it. I'll send you a copy of the book as well. So if you guys made it this far, congratulations, and get yourself a book.
Oh, dude, goosebumps, man. That's awesome. I'm honored that you've read the book and that you would do a little fun promotional thing like that, man. That means a lot to me. You got to flash the t-shirt, dude. We're twinsies today. Come on, let's go. That's so good.
Awesome. Well, Brian,
job, man.
yeah, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. Big thank you to Brian. This episode really fired me up. We learned how you can not only be better at self-mastery, but how you can get excited about it, as well as what it means to be heroic and live with Arete. As Brian said, if you do this, it will make sure that you are well-resourced to handle life's challenges. And that's how you make change easy. Make sure you go and check out what Brian has going on. I've linked to everything that he's doing in the show notes. Go download the Heroic app. If you're a coach, definitely check out the Heroic coaching program. And I've also linked to his new book, Arete, Activate Your Heroic Potential, which you can buy via the link for sure, or you can win a free copy by leaving a rating and review in iTunes and mentioning this episode and Brian, and then screenshotting your review and uploading it to Instagram stories and tagging me at Change Made Easy and tagging Brian at Heroic Brian. If you're working on changing your diet, exercise, or other habits around food and fitness, you have to check out My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the world's leading nutrition coaching platform that helps people find their healthy weight and keep it forever through sustainable habit change. And you know, as a listener of this show, that when it comes to creating change, it's all about sustainability and consistency. And when it comes to diet, exercise, and getting in shape, My Body Tutor solves the problem of consistency through one-on-one coaching, customized plans, and daily accountability. And as a bonus for you, they're offering $50 off your first month. But what really makes My Body Tutor so unique is they offer daily accountability with a real human coach. And I know because I'm one of them. I have been working with My Body Tutor since 2020. There's so much misinformation, so much nonsense out there in the health and wellness space, but not with My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the real deal. They are changing lives. I've seen it, I've been a part of it, and I'm honored to continue to grow with them. And you don't have to take my word for it. Check out mybodytutor.com, where you will see hundreds of testimonials and reviews. And as a special bonus, for listeners of this show, you will get $50 off your first month. Just click the link in the show notes or go to mybodytutor.com and tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you in your intake questionnaire, and you'll automatically get a huge discount. And remember, they offer a money-back, risk-free guarantee, so this is a no-brainer for you. And no joke, I really do work for them. So if you want to work with me personally, ask for Paul as your tutor. Once again, tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you for $50 off your first month. Start with no risk and see how the power of a coach with daily accountability can literally change your life.